Hello, Eurovision party people. This is Eurovision is My Religion, where we chat, laugh, and cringe at the Eurovision Song Contest. We have now reached the long-awaited final, and what a show it has been. Or a shit show, one may say. I am your host today, Simona, and to discuss all what happened, I have with me biggest U-turn on Latvia, August.
Don Zeg. I love you now. After you cried in the semi, I realized you sang from the heart, and I take back my previous comments.
Perfect. The biggest U-turn on Ireland, Gerda.
Yes, crown the witch.
And the biggest U-turn after their performance on Armenia, Katrina. You didn't have that many U-turns. It was really difficult.
I didn't have that many U-turns. Yeah, you tried. You tried.
And she did drop in her eyes.
You tried. Good. Funny. Good attempt.
That's who I am, a trier.
Probably Ireland for me as well. Not as big U-turn as Gerda.
The same.
Yeah. But probably if I had to pick one, probably would be Ireland as well.
So let's just accept that I had A for effort and move on. Cool. So for those who somehow haven't realized yet, Switzerland has won the show, has won the Eurovision 2024.
Or broke the code.
Or broke the code.
We didn't hear that in the results announcements.
That is not a cliche thing to say
and
at
then
all.
Broke the trophy that he received, which is hilarious.
Yes,
he did.
He slammed. I did see him slam it on the ground, and I was thinking, is he gonna break it?
He broke it,
and he actually broke it.
Yeah. Fortunately, they had a few, additional trophies, extra trophies to hand out.
If they have extra
he
trophies,
got a replacement one.
It's a common thing.
If they have extra trophies, can they give one to Lithuania? I think we're overdue for one.
Oh, it would be participation trophy that we get.
Something.
But yes, he broke the trophy, as it's quite common. But I'm sure most of us agree that it was a pretty deserved win overall. So congratulations. But obviously, leading up to the actual final show where we witnessed Switzerland winning, there has been so many controversies and so many things happened in the last sort of 48 to 24 hours to the show, up to the minute of the show starting. At some point, we were not sure if the show will start. It was really confusing. So I thought that before we dive deep into all the voting and all the performances, I think we need to really cover a pre-Eurovision final show, the Shitstorm, as it's called officially.
Yeah, I really liked Gerda's meme that she shared on the day. You know, the format where there is a group of people partying and then one individual in the corner, not part of the party. So that's how we felt for the past 48 hours. All the casual viewers just awaiting the Eurovision evening, and us, the fans, stressing out and having crazy 48 or so hours.
Yeah, in the words of Baby Lasagna, anxiety attacks.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, a very relevant quotation. There has been so many things that we probably need to cover. There has been multiple crisis meetings happening. There were multiple crises in general happening. We know that Netherlands got disqualified, so we definitely need to discuss that. We know that Italy released their voting after the semis, which sort of moved away the bookies and everything and got a lot of questions into our heads. We know that Ireland requested Israel to be disqualified as well for their comments. There are controversies during family show, and we all know that EBU has been a fan of censorship a little bit on this show as well. So loads of things to cover. Where do we want to start, team?
Shall we start with Joost? Because I feel like that's probably the... I think a lot of this controversy may kind of wash itself out over the years, but I think he will still be probably the only participant for a long time to be disqualified in the week of Eurovision, and for quite dubious circumstances, at least at the point of the recording we know. Yeah. We still know very little about the actual circumstances of how that accident unfolded.
Okay, so let's look at what we do know, because both EBU and the Dutch national broadcaster made public statements, right? And we could probably treat those as legitimate sources. So EBU confirmed, both EBU and the Dutch national broadcaster confirmed that it was an incident with a basically staff of the production, right? Female producer or photographer.
Mhm.
So that we know there was an incident. There were a few comments from the Dutch delegation explaining the incident, saying basically that the photographer or producer was trying to film or photograph or engage with Joost after his semi-final performance, and he did not want to be filmed, or he did not want to engage with everyone, and he made some threatening gestures. But from what we understand, those were not physical. There might have been some words, there might have been some gestures with hands that maybe were inappropriate to make and threatening, but it did not get physical. And the fact that the Dutch national broadcaster is saying that this is all blown out of proportion and it's absolutely unproportional really like makes me think that, you know, as they say everywhere, justice for Joost, justice for Joost. Because the Dutch broadcaster would not risk the reputation defending something
if it was that serious.
If it was that serious,
like.
Yeah, especially in a country like the Netherlands, their national broadcaster, like they are known for being fair and defending liberal values, and they would not stand for something. It was
and
really
they had
bad.
some scandals as well, I think, recently, so they might be extra precautious before they defend.
How did they describe
behavior.
this, or the opposite, where they said that we support good manners or politeness, or what did they say?
Or like safe environment for all.
Yeah, in general, they said that they acknowledged the error as lack of
manners
or something.
Yeah,
which to
inappropriate behavior.
Yes, inappropriate. But you could also perhaps say the same about the photographer or the person who was filming him.
Yeah, not respecting
in a time
his
when he was
boundaries at that
not
point.
asked to be filmed.
But you don't know if that person who was filming also was aware of that they shouldn't film him. You don't know if there could have been miscommunication where they asked to film everybody like this and nobody told them don't film Joost. And even if he asks in front of me and like that person's like, I'm just doing my job, I've been asked to do exactly that. So there could be that on EBU's part as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I just don't understand how significant the gesture has to be for the police to be involved.
Yeah,
it's not actual assault. Like, what did he have to say or show to warrant this level of kind of investigation?
Yeah, to call the police.
The female staff member basically filed the complaint with the police. So it could have been complete nothing.
Yeah, I just don't really kind of put those two points together. It's not like a criticism for the production member. It's not a criticism for Joost. I just can't put the two together.
Yeah.
What has to happen? What does a person need to say to me for me to go to the police without kind of being physically assaulted or kind of sexually assaulted, or like what has to happen that the
it must
words
be very strong,
or signs had to mean so.
And
so
they
much.
also they didn't do that straight away. So it happened on the Thursday. They filed the complaint on Friday. That's why on Friday during the rehearsal, Joost was still part of the flag parade, but just before he was supposed to perform,
he was informed,
he was pulled out. Which is crazy.
But maybe, but presumably female staff, I don't know, just consulted with EBU at this time, and then she decided to sort of file a complaint. I mean, is it because Swedish police is? Every time I say Swedish, I just hear Swedish House Mafia. But anyway, is it the Swedish police is involved? So maybe that's why we spoke already, I think, but on EBU's side, probably they've done as much as I wanted Netherlands to participate. If the assault is not horrible, obviously.
Yeah.
I think they've done what's the best case in this shitty scenario for them, because if a police deems Joost to be done something really wrong, if it comes out, if they let him participate, that would be so much worse for them than if he is found innocent.
If it was
because
disqualified for nothing, that's also going to be a shitstorm.
It's still,
but
when you consider safety of people and everything else, and they would know what happened, and they still allowed him to participate, and police deemed it really bad. Then I think they chose the lesser of two evils. I think there is no good situation for them. It's all crap, and
potentially, but. I really didn't like how they handled it and their communication. They, in between press statements, so much time passed, allowing so many nasty speculations about Joost, about other people,
or even the kind of Israel's delegation themselves, right? Like everything. It seemed like there was kind of this vacuum of like lack of information, right? That people just put the press conference and this kind of potential disqualification together and thought this is kind of the cause and effect.
Exactly.
Whilst now we know it's not related. But it's really difficult to get those ideas out of people's heads. So now
it's very difficult. So now like
the two together,
all these speculations about him being then anti-Semitic, him punching women in the face, like all of these nasty things.
Or sexual assaults and stuff like that.
I feel like, of course, they can't reveal like all of the details during the investigation, but they could have come out. They came out to say like he was being investigated for the incident, right? They could have said, non-violent incident. They could have said an incident with the production crew,
not involving any other delegations.
Not involving any other delegations.
Because these are facts. These are facts. It's very easy to say that. Why allow that space for those nasty speculations?
Yeah, and there were almost like 24 hours where people just spent, spreading rumors. Then those rumors, you can't even kind of you don't know who to kind of to trust, which sources are correct. None of the official sources were confirming anything, and just very kind of nasty 24 hours. I think the fans were as well kind of very speculative and very kind of just needed that information and that kind of gap to be filled. And I feel like that's. I understand what EBU did, but I think the communication was terrible. Like a failing that they could have avoided in this situation and could have probably I think in that case, the situation would be a bit more manageable, a bit better in terms of kind of the artist environments. Because now, all of the other artists are being interviewed during the day. Like, oh, do you know anything? Can you share something about Joost? What is happening to Joost? It's kind of, it's no longer about their song, their performance, their day. It's like, oh, what can you tell us about Joost?
Sorry, like a very funny little interlude. In the meantime, in midst of all of this crisis, did you see what Malta's Sara Bonici was uploading to her Insta stories?
No.
It's okay. In the middle of all of this, she uploads a story with a countdown, 1 hour countdown or something like that, saying, guys, I have some amazing news for you. And of course, speculation starts that Joost is disqualified and she came 11th in the semi and she will be replacing him.
Oh my God.
Because like, that's, the Joost crisis, that's what everyone is talking about, right? And she with her countdown and exciting news. Okay, it has to be related.
It's wonderful PR. I think it was a song I failed or something. Was it that?
And then the next story, and then the next story is basically, I have a new song coming out next Wednesday. Yay!
Wow.
It was so tone deaf. The timing. Wow.
Very smart.
Yeah, or very smart.
Either or. Yeah. Could
Otherwise,
be
we
on both
wouldn't
ends.
be talking about this
Exactly.
song.
Totally not. It's
well
true,
done,
true,
Sarah's
true,
PR.
true.
Honestly, even our podcast, we talked about you. So well done, and I'm sure we'll reach new fans now.
Should we maybe briefly talk about just, I think generally, I was just surprised of the EBU stance on some of the kind of pro-peace, pro-ceasefire messages. So I think we saw that straight away from the semi-final one when Eric Sade was one of the 3 people opening the show, and he was wearing kind of this kind of accessory related to kind of Palestinian support. Apparently.
But he has Palestinian roots, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of his culture. And since when celebrating your own culture is a sin?
So there's that, and he got reprimanded, and I think that part of the broadcast, I saw some comments. I didn't fact check this, but have been removed from the YouTube kind of upload of this performance, which just seem ridiculous to me. Then obviously we know that Bambi was told to remove the kind of the ancient Irish kind of messages from her makeup, saying ceasefire and kind of pro-peace messages.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have what were the other protests? That's just.
It's just generally that saying word peace was deemed controversial.
And then
it's just beyond me.
And then you have kind of some of the artists and then some of the results announcers just making these very washed out statements. Oh, I hope it can be like peace and love in the world. I'm like, we all know what you're trying to say. And it's probably the message that EBU allowed you to put out there, because that's the maximum they can kind of agree to be broadcasted, which is, I mean, the Eurovision, there is that famous kind of joke song, love, love, peace, peace, but apparently we no longer can even say peace because this is controversial.
Love, love.
Yeah, just love.
No, this plus all the anti-booing thing for me was giving Black Mirror. A fake reality where we no longer can say what we actually think or feel about things within reason. I'm not saying, allow the presenters or jury members to outright be spreading complete hate on a night like this, but to be so heavily censored and then for the public not allowing to express their emotions and how they feel about songs, for me was giving Black Mirror fake reality. North Korea, we love everyone is smiling, everyone is getting on together.
Yeah, I was conflicted about this myself, thinking about censorship after this whole shitstorm, because on one hand, I always lean towards freedom. I think, like you say, Katrina, that people expressing themselves and what they actually feel probably must be a good thing in general. But at the same time, our society and the way we live is not completely free. There are still prisons. We have punishments for transgressions, and we lock some people away.
I'm not saying allow people in the audience to bring tomatoes and eggs and throw that on the stage, like there are limits, but completely silence people, like a boo will not hurt you physically.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it might hurt your ego, but so will the comments online. You just, if you decide to be a public figure and a singer, you'll have to deal with that.
Yeah, there must be a line where it's probably constantly adjusted, and maybe public pressure is right. A line between what is still should be free expression and should be allowed, and what is silenced. And I think that the silence probably should be as little as possible to allow as much freedom as possible in every situation. But it's more a philosophical contemplation. It's difficult to implement in everyday life. What is allowed, who is allowed to participate, who is not, what you're allowed to say, what you're not, what party is watching what you say, and who you have to be careful against.
No, it is, you're spot on, August. It is a philosophical discussion, and probably it's one of those where there is no right or wrong.
It's just, I think, something that we picked up on. Obviously, we don't want to spread hate, and I think kind of Bambi's complaint against the Israeli broadcaster was because they considered it being kind of spreading hate and anger. But I think my concern was that all of these kind of messages that were asked to be removed were actually not specifically kind of hate or against Israel. It's pro-peace. Like, since when do we have a problem with being kind of pro-good things, right? Obviously, you can kind of interpret like ceasefire on kind of as being maybe in support of kind of the other side or wherever, but it's just, I never kind of thought that ceasefire is a bad thing. Like, obviously, we don't want war. But anyway, never really thought that this is so controversial.
I don't think ceasefire is considered as a bad thing, but ceasefire does quite explicitly reference a current ceasefire agreement, discussions and stuff like that. So you could say that is more political sort of message because it references a specific event probably. So, I mean, if you consider that Eurovision is really trying to not have any political messages, you could say that specific word like this is sort of referencing a specific political event happening at the moment. I disagree with all the other, peace and love, and you are not allowed to say anything like, let's not fight and stuff like that. That's fine. But I suppose that word, given current context, is political. And if you consider
but then you can nitpick things and say Ukraine's visuals are political because they seem to be like featuring kind of those kind of fireworks landing. They're not really fireworks. Could be interpreted as bombs. That's political.
Maybe it's time.
Are we censoring that as well? Like, are we kind of putting constraints on what Ukraine can show?
I suppose it's easier to define something when it's a word that is currently in the news, that is currently about that conflict.
Maybe Eurovision should just say that they're, maybe it's time for them to admit that they're political. It's not an apolitical contest. It's still countries coming together. We're singing about ideas that people look up to. Singers that win typically are some kind of idols, and all of it is half philosophical, half international. There's neighbor voting.
Yeah,
of course, it's political.
You have countries, you have flags. You put countries battle each other.
It's like, as political as probably as a competition can get. Really.
But I suppose when you consider other events which are in some way similar style, like championships in football and stuff like that, where you're representing countries as well, you would still not be allowed certain political messages and chant around.
But at least you're allowed booing in the stadium if you are supporting your football team and not the other one. So
the difference is that this is singing. It's art. You're singing lyrics and ideas and words, and so it's a bit closer to the heart as well. Plus, I guess what they probably mean is that they try to stay away from negative politics, maybe political as in bringing everybody together somehow, as opposed to focusing on the conflict.
Yeah, I think there are certain political messages such as LGBTQ. It's sort of a political, political context, but because it's, I suppose, more a positive message of unity, of being together and stuff like that. That's
inclusive,
much more allowed
than
something that is, as much as we want, divisive. Currently in the current world.
Yeah, I found it also slightly funny, the fact that it's not the first year that this rule is implemented, but I think it was implemented maybe last year, that you're not allowed to bring in flags from non-participating countries into the Eurovision arena, into Eurovision villages. And I don't think it's necessarily just kind of Palestine related, but obviously this year it was interpreted as such a move. So you don't see any kind of Palestinian flags in the arena, but you see many random countries like Costa Rican flags, or like some like non-participating countries that are not deemed political that have been allowed to kind of take into
really?
arena.
There were other countries' flags?
Yeah. So it's kind of I understand why you created this rule to kind of draw a perimeter, kind of avoid controversy and so on. But then go on and implement it fully.
Yeah, but I would like to reference Eurodana live that I've listened to. They said that nobody actually checked for any flags or anything. You could bring any flag you want. So maybe it was also...
But maybe you would be removed from
maybe.
Or the flag would be taken away if it was...
A lot of people probably can recognize that flag, whilst some of the other flags are a bit more confusing, and people like, maybe it's one of those European countries that are
or less likely to draw complaints, right?
Yeah. And as I suppose in a big event, it's a bit hard to find it all. But at least they said that there was not much checking in terms of those flags and stuff like that. You could bring in flags if you want.
Okay, interesting.
That's
Shout
what they
out
referenced.
to Eurodana and covering everything live from Malmö.
Yeah,
thank you. Source of knowledge for me.
One thing that I was annoyed with, just from a personal point of view, so with all of this mess happening, obviously a lot of the artists missed, I think, the Saturday's afternoon rehearsal because of kind of Bambi's investigation. I think Nemo missed the rehearsal. Kind of France, instead of kind of doing this like powerful standing back from the microphone, decided to kind of give out this pro-peace message, which that's not the source of my complaint, but just generally kind of setting the scene for what...
You know, just here, I think the reason why he did it was twofold. On one hand, he wanted to express his views and spread this beautiful message. I think the second reason was he was trying to save his vocal cords.
100%. It was voice related. Like, why would you compromise yourself?
Yeah, exactly. That bit requires so much vocal strength. It's such a strain on your vocal cords. I think he was trying to save his voice, especially knowing that his voice cracked a few times during the jury show the day before.
But kind of just generally thinking about that kind of Saturday's rehearsal, obviously we went to Eurovision last year. We kind of didn't even get tickets for the actual live show. We went to a kind of one of these rehearsals, right? And for a lot of people, it's the single Eurovision event that they will attend that year or they will attend ever in their lives. Yeah. And to go there and you have one kind of performer being disqualified or maybe not, like in the previous rehearsals, not allowed to sing even before the disqualification happened. Other performers being investigated, not performing for various reasons. I know this is kind of a bigger...
But did he actually not perform? I know a few of them did not join the flag parade. But then...
I thought that Bambi didn't.
A couple of rehearsals
actually did not sing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But I think it's I don't think it's actually to do anything with investigation. I think it's just to save her voice, including for Bambi, because her... croaking and screaming.
I think Bambi's was specifically that at that time she was, they were having a meeting with the EBU about the complaint.
Of a meeting clash.
But I just kind of, I know this is all bigger than kind of personal experiences, but for a lot of people, you know, this is contributing to a very kind of poor experience of going to Eurovision for maybe the first time.
Absolutely. 100%. And especially knowing that even for these rehearsals, ticket prices can be a few £100. Very, very expensive.
Yeah.
I wonder if this could cascade into a larger effect or how much this could be a bubble, because the people in the arena are not that many compared with people on the TV. But a lot of people on the TV were also complaining about the anti-booing system and so on, and the shitstorm that's happened this year. I wonder if this could have a negative effect that cascades over time, or if this will be just a pebble in a large... stream.
Yeah, I think the effect that I worry about is kind of some broadcasters taking a bigger stance against EBU, specifically Netherlands. To mind, kind of one of their representatives almost said "fuck EBU" to one of the journalists. So tensions are very high. If they kind of pull out of the EBU and Eurovision going forward, that's obviously going to affect their competition in the coming years.
And EBU is already struggling financially, big time.
Yeah, I think being very realistic and sort of, I don't know, a cynic, I don't think the general public knows or cares about the anti-booing. That will have zero effect. It has existed for years now, let's face it. So I don't think that will have anything to do. And I think in terms of like delegations and sort of next year participation, Switzerland is so expensive. I think that will have much bigger effect than what happened this year. Just some countries will choose not to participate because it might be too expensive to participate. So, you know, small countries like Moldova and stuff like that, aside from the fact that Satan was on stage, they might just not have it because it's just going to be too expensive. I think that's more realistic issue.
Yeah, another reason Croatia should have won. Sorry, not to foreshadow the second part of our conversation.
But it would have been much cheaper.
It would have been much cheaper.
Economical winner.
Yeah, but it was... To answer the question, I think it was a traumatizing year for many, and it will have consequences. That we are yet to see.
I mean, but we are in a massive bubble of our own, so I think we just need to acknowledge that, and the rest of
So you're saying not everybody cares it as much as I do?
Just feels from this conversation that could be the case, Gerda.
Just to maybe wrap up this controversies and the shitstorm that has been going on section, I have a simple question for you. Should Martin Osterdahl resign? Despite the beautiful interval act that was dedicated to him and his legendary catchphrase, "You're good to go."
Very poorly timed.
The question is,
that was
good to go?
Very poorly timed. The question is he good to go home? because of how he managed and how he handled this year.
How many years has he been in post?
It's not been that many, right?
Yeah,
Because
I think
I
he's,
still remember
quite
the
recent.
The
older
previous.
guy, right? So it can be like, I don't know, 6, 7.
Yeah, probably something like that.
I mean, my opinions up to this point of him was a silver fox related comments.
Very handsome.
Yeah, very handsome gentleman. In the way he managed the latest events, I mean, I kind of tried to also be empathetic to the situation. Like I said, I don't think if a complaint has been made, for example, when it comes to Netherlands, you have to do something, and we were not in a good position of, any choice would have been probably potentially a really bad choice. It was just no good option. Like, oh, clearly you should just done this. In terms of the way that comms has been handled, well, somebody should definitely be fired. I'm not sure if it sort of extends to him being fired altogether. And I don't think the previous show. What are opinions of the previous shows? Like what happened? Like, has there been any mishandling on his part? Because it's hard to judge on just one.
So just to jump in and showing how much COVID has impacted our understanding of time, it was announced that he would succeed John Lasagna as the executive supervisor and basically taking the role that he currently has in 2020.
Oh, okay.
It's as recent as that. And of course, 2020 was cancelled. Generally, people are saying that he handled the cancellation of 2020 okay. And that was quite a crisis to handle. But it's only a few years.
I mean, sorry.
Our perception of time is so distorted.
Not to comment on whether he should resign or not, but just generally, the guy just had really bad run. Like you have COVID cancellation, then you have Ukraine winning in 22 and UK having to host, which is a very unusual circumstance.
You have to remove Russia from the contest.
And now you have this shitstorm that will also go down in history. It's just out of 4 years, like 3 have been very complicated and
very, very complicated. And the first competition after COVID, like he's gonna become a real silver fox, very, very silver, very, very soon.
So that's what I'm trying to sort of to think. Like, is it? I mean, they definitely mishandled this, but it's not been easy situations for him to handle so far, or hasn't been any almost. So I'm feeling like, is he like a Theresa May of UK politics, where had handed in really shit situations, and then everybody is angry at that time, and then we look back and think like, oh, maybe they handled it better than we thought.
Funny you brought UK politics into it, because I have seen memes of a lettuce and him kind of outlasting a lettuce kind of in comparison to Liz Truss government. So I feel like people are counting his days in the same way. Well, I mean,
I don't think I would compare him to Liz Truss, but yes.
Yeah, but I also wouldn't compare that. That was a much bigger shitstorm. But yeah, it's kind of I saw that meme and I just found it hilarious that lettuce is resurfacing everywhere in every context. Being
whenever we expect someone to resign on TV, I mean,
I would like to see how he handles post police investigation outcome.
Oh yeah.
And I would like to judge whether he should resign or not after that. Because I think it's a bit early. Imagine if Joost, let's say, did the threatening thing situation was actually quite threatening, and or the verbal abuse was like, let's say it was a very abusive language or something like that used, which warrants a such reaction from EBU, you would look at it differently. Obviously, like I said, comms were not great.
But
at the same time,
that's almost an easier situation for him, because then they did disqualify Joost and they did the right thing. I think the worst situation is
maybe I wouldn't fire him.
The worst situation is if the police comes out and says
it was nothing.
It's not a big deal.
And now you disqualified a participant,
a fan favorite,
very kind of high in the odds to win. For what?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I would, like I said, once that comes out, I would say fire or not fire at that point, because it's a bit early to judge, I think, because maybe he has done the right thing. Let's say.
Perfect. We have content for in I guess in a few months' time or so. We can revisit our frustrations with
Katrina
the
just
EBU.
wanted to shut me up. Stop just saying that. I'll make a decision later. I'm like a real politician myself. Moving on from all the controversies, we had a very big final show, loads of, long awaited performances that we really wanted to see that most performed, that we're really happy about. And, we were eager, this is the first season of a podcast, hopefully first, not the last. So we were so invested in this, and to culminate, it was still extremely good show to watch and to enjoy and to comment on and to sing along. I feel, despite what happened.
For sure.
Switzerland has won, as we know, and they won, surprise, surprise, jury-led again. So the voting and everything that happened, I think, was interesting and something that warrants a discussion as well, beyond just what our favorite performances are, which we will discuss in the next episode. So we just wanted to cover what has been the interesting parts of the voting patterns, what was unexpected in those areas, and, how the vote sort of added up to, Norway to be dead last, and Switzerland to be the winner.
It's been a crazy voting sequence. So many unexpected twists and turns. I don't even know where to start, but maybe we start with Switzerland.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the things that we always predicted and discussed a few times was that we thought that jury votes would be quite divided and spread across a few countries. We had, of course, Switzerland, but then we also talked about France and Ukraine, like all of these songs with great vocals getting quite a few of 12 points, right? But no, most of 12 points went to Switzerland. It was quite a landslide.
Yeah.
And that's not something we thought would be as straightforward as that.
I think France's kind of performance on the jury rehearsal probably led to this.
Yeah,
I think if his voice kind of was cracking a little bit, he just removed himself from that kind of front runner competition a little bit. And we always talked that Switzerland's vocals were amazing and very clear favorite. I think I was less surprised with the fact that Switzerland were at the top, more surprised with the fact with some of the other placings. So Ireland, who were very shaky in their national final, and we now kind of understand that was kind of probably a blip and actually a great performer overall. But Ireland getting more points from the jury than from the public, I did not have that in my books. Croatia being third in the juries, also didn't have that in my predictions. Obviously we kind of talked about Ukraine, maybe
Ukraine getting more points from the public than from the juries, overwhelming public support.
It was almost like as if it's flipped, like this year, like all of the kind of voting patterns that are expected from the juries actually maybe happened in the televote and vice versa.
Yeah, same with France. France got more votes from the public than from the juries.
Surprising. Very surprising.
Just a quick one on Ireland. Very, very happy for Banditag. Very happy she did so well with the juries. Amazing. She came 6th overall. She was 6th with the juries, and she was 6th with the televote. 6,
Nice.
6, 6. Yes.
Wow. Really?
Well done. It is like if it was Satan's job, as Moldova would say. Very impressive.
I heard that in the Viva Blogs review earlier today. I haven't fact-checked it myself, but I think this is true.
Wow. Okay.
August, anything from your side? Anything surprised in the voting?
No, I just wanted to say about Bambi. Maybe just the whole Satan thing is difficult for a mass audience to get behind, fully.
Yeah.
I see mothers and grandmothers sitting and not saying, "I'm not gonna send vote for Satan."
Devil's work.
This is actual literal devil.
I
was surprised that Finland only got 30-something points.
Yes.
Windows 95. It was such an entertainment of a song when, he has
only
those...
31 points from the public.
Same for Spain. Wasn't Finland and Spain quite a lot higher up in public's eye and like.
For public, Spain was 22nd, so still quite down. I think Finland was 15th, so Finland was more of a favorite.
Yeah, we really thought it would get quite a few of public votes, but it didn't happen. And in the end, Estonia got more votes from the public than Finland.
Yeah, that's.
I think in terms of Spain, people who followed Eurovision, they really enjoyed the song. They knew the lyrics. They knew it's a great bop and really enjoyable thing. I think if you watched it from, general public's point of view, probably you were not so invested, and you just saw not like amazing lyrics, some, opened bum cheeks and stuff. It would not have the same feeling because you're not as invested in this.
You don't have that relationship of that song that we did, knowing, all those, how she won the final, how much support she was having from the audience in the national final, and making a meme out of it. You don't know what the song is about.
So I think I was not surprised at all that this happened. And I think they were not surprised. I think they knew they just wanted to have fun on the stage, and they absolutely did, and we had fun together. I'm surprised that Austria got any points in jury. They got points. I think they got points more than Lithuania, maybe in jury only.
They got 19 points from the jury, only 5 points from the public.
Yeah, that's one of the examples where I thought it would be the other way around. They didn't get more points than Lithuania in the jury. I think we came.
Cyprus got more points than us in the jury, and then Lithuania. Quite surprising.
Just on Finland, I had a little speculation. I can't even remember what running order they had, but what I noticed, and now I'm kind of watching Party, is that it was at that point in time it was really difficult to get people engaged. Like, I know from our friends group, people who liked the song and they couldn't, like, they were already like smoking in the balcony, and kind of, I think it's just that running order. It was so late in the show, but kind of, I don't know, just felt like at least in our kind of group, it was already kind of a low point in terms of the energy. And I wonder whether that had something to contribute, being kind of quite late and almost also kind of seeing so many exciting performances, then it doesn't really stand out as much kind of as it would otherwise.
If she like opened or closed, maybe it would be slightly different, sort of that vibe and everything.
Talking about Big Five, coming back to the fact that normally they don't do that well, so that's another reason why I'm not too surprised that Spain is towards the bottom. But did anyone guess Germany being the best of the top 5 this year? No. What? I am actually so happy for Isaac, and I'm happy for Germany. They needed a little boost after years and years and years being last or second to last. So I'm really quite happy for them.
Where did they place? Wait.
12. Better than Lithuania. Yeah. Wow. Small support from the public, but very decent support from the juries, which is expected. His vocals are great.
I think I just kind of, maybe it's not the kind of boost that I would like to give to Germany, because it is still a very basic radio song. True. And I want them to go in the direction of Ireland, where they get a little bit of beating and then they bring something really exciting, rather than, now this is just a motivation to keep on going.
Keep on going. Yeah, you're so right. I wish that boost happened last year when they sent Lord of the Lost.
But and kind of on the Big Five, I think another big surprise for me that I still can't figure out how that happened. Ollie getting 0 points. How? Was it based on the comments, both in the Eurovision kind of Reddits and social media, but also just in the UK kind of related news posts and also Reddit? I feel like everybody thought it was a little bit too much. I can't see it because I didn't really get kind of offended or kind of shocked by that performance. So maybe I'm kind of not seeing it. Yeah. But, sure, he got some points from the jury, and thank God UK is not dead last, because that would be kind of devastating. But just 0, the only performer getting 0 points from the public is
normally they have some 0 points buddies at the bottom, like with Germany or Spain. This year.
Yeah.
Damn.
You know what I felt? I know that Ollie is a good singer. We've seen him sing with Elton John. Obviously, he can sing very well, but I don't think he projected, at least in that performance,
100%.
super convincingly for me.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
was all about that staging and cool production and shots and camera angles. And then it, I think, becomes just about that. Although you can see him singing, but he's almost straining, or maybe his voice is drowned by the whole spectacle and sound. And I don't know.
I really agree with you.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
As well.
But I think that's why I would have expected fewer points from the jury,
Yeah, but
more
public.
points
Yeah.
from the public,
Mhm.
because the public care about the
The
spectacle.
spectacle, the
Maybe don't
staging.
understand the
Yeah.
kind of vocal intricacies
Exactly.
as
But you are
much.
right, Garda. I think it crossed the line for many people. The line between just being
Mhm.
innovative and how to even describe it, like subtly showing the emotion and the chemistry between him and the dancers, and just being straight on like raunchy and
Mhm.
But I think that's
inappropriate.
what he wanted to do. He
Yeah.
wanted, when you see some of the shows from straight people or from female dancers and
Mhm.
stuff like that, whereas a lot of the times nothing subtle around that.
True.
And
no one ever
a lot
questions
of
that.
nakedness and a lot of not
Yeah.
subtlety and stuff like that. And everybody's fine. But because it's Ollie and it's sort of, from gay sort of perspective, now it's like too much. That's too much. You should be
Mhm.
subtle. You should be
Mm.
that. And it's like very
But have
common
you really seen
sentences.
the other like heterosexual, like sexual positions on stage?
Yeah, Karia last year.
Karia.
But
Karia
wasn't
was
he
doggy
like?
style, sitting on 4 people.
But he was on the
caterpillar.
back, wasn't he? He wasn't in the. He was
Yeah,
on
but
sitting
Ollie
on somebody's
wasn't even
back.
close
And he
to
was-
like
Yeah.
anyone's
Yeah.
back.
But I think Karia was a jokey caricature.
Yes,
It
and
was
he
not-
was stepping. What, right leg, left leg, right leg, left
It
leg.
was a caricature of a
Instead
sexual
of, like-
position, whereas
like a red
Yeah.
room, like faces with teeth gritting, and like it looked like genuine sexual act.
I
Yeah,
think
I think the point still stands, right? Like, so why is kind of caricature of something very sexual, like how the sexual part is different from not being a caricature? It's still sexual. Like
It-
if you're annoyed by the sexual part, it's still very sexual. Both of those circumstances.
I guess it just feels very real. Like the actual shot with the red light, it looks exactly like sex. It's like not.
we're giving a rare
There's no-
glimpse
there's
into
no- there's
Ogi's
not even-
personal sexual life. That's exactly how I look at it.
I've seen this just a few days ago.
No, but yeah, I think we don't really probably know the reason, but yeah, I think that's a good speculation. I think
Yeah,
it was
Maybe.
maybe too much.
I had a delight of watching some of a semi-final one with my parents because we were still visiting, and I can assure you that that generation Lithuania was not voting,
Didn't sit well.
and they even chose Poland over Ollie, and I'm like, no way. And I was like, but the funny thing is that they said like even Poland was better. That's how they said it.
okay,
Yeah.
even Poland.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, that doesn't say a lot. But I think I agree, August, with your point. Is like his vocals were not that great and not strong, not powerful. I don't know if it's because the song doesn't warrant vocal sort of expression like that. And that's why he focused on, expression in sort of the staging. But I just think, I think you could have cut down and left the sexual parts, but you could have cut down some of the performance to make it a bit cleaner
Mhm.
and to allow him to project a bit more voice. And I think that could have made a few, hopefully, points
Yeah,
from
but
the
I think-
public.
I think he did project that voice, but at the very end, and I feel like maybe it was
one,
too late.
Yeah,
It was
one
just too
moment.
too
One
late,
moment.
yeah.
Yeah, because especially in the final, maybe not so much in the semi-final, but in the final, he kind of really kind of has this long kind of high note, and you can see that he's a great singer, but it's so late in the performance.
A lot of people already tuned
Yeah,
out.
a
by
lot of
that
people
point.
already made judgments, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, he's not sounding that good. The song is basic, and it's kind of
And I think it's like, I really don't want to compare Ollie to Molly Mayer, but, a lot of focus on staging,
Mhm.
little focus on projecting or showcasing voice or having a really good voice in some cases. And where do we get to? Whilst like Sam Ryder and stuff like that, a lot of focus on really good song and singing well on vocals and very little actually staging. And that was much better.
I think Molly, I don't even think she focused a lot on staging because the staging
but like
was a mess.
But that's the thing. But I think it's just cleaning it up. It's just too much. Even with all this much more well thought through, much more interesting, but just a lot happening, a lot all the time.
I have to give it like a thumbs up to BBC and Ollie because I did not think that this performance could come out of the UK. And when he said at the start when he was chosen that this will be the gayest performance of Eurovision,
he delivered.
I thought that's impossible because what else can you do?
It's Eurovision.
And he delivered. And it's not a hyperbole. Like he delivered, and it's a shame that kind of didn't get recognized.
100%.
And those 0 points kind of hurt, but I think it's something memorable at least.
I don't think that song was for me to win or to be in top 10, but I think it definitely deserved public votes for sure.
I also think the point that you made about basic probably is true, because when you look at the whole melody of that song, I think it does sound a bit generic, you know.
It doesn't have many like ups and downs.
Yeah, it's a bit repetitive, a bit basic compared with, you know, the catchy Croatias and a lot of anthems this year that are a lot more sing-along. It's an okay song, and if you have an okay song, I think you better project your voice super well and make it convincing instead of relying on the production and the show with an okay-ish song. Maybe that's the recipe.
So should we with that, should we go back to the top of the of the performances and talk about Croatia?
I still wanted to talk about one more thing before we jump into Croatia.
Okay.
Portugal. I want to talk about Portugal.
What's happening?
Did we end up 10th?
What's happening?
I don't think anybody could have predicted this. They scored so high in jury. But compared to Serbia, which produced a really good, you know, vocal song, really true to themselves, they didn't do so well, I think, in juries, if you look at the scores from jury. How is this such a big gap and Portugal was prioritized?
Or you have Slovenia, who's an opera singer.
Yeah.
And also maybe kind of a little bit too much screaming, but I think kind of delivered a flawless performance.
When we talking about vocals, Slovenia is clear, should have been clearly ahead, you would think, at least from the jury's perspective.
Yeah.
So that's the Slovenia being at the bottom, very surprising.
Weird.
Portugal doing okay with the juries, I can get.
Yeah, but not that okay. Like, it's okay, but it like literally in some instances scored maximum points.
Think about people that are normally invited to be part of these juries. A lot of them are probably artsy, edgy, unconventional people that are looking for something different and maybe
cultural,
intellectual, experimental art. So a lot of these people would probably appreciate Portugal. And the vocals were
people
good.
Voted for France then.
It was conceptual. Like I can see why. And also with the public, they only got 13 points, right? So
I think I agree with those points about kind of cultural and experimental, but I still have to bring Slovenia back into this.
True. That's beyond me.
Comparison.
That's beyond me.
Yeah.
And Luxembourg. How is Luxembourg so high in the juries?
I think that's a little bit of goodwill.
Gesture.
Goodwill, yeah.
Yeah, but we could tone down slightly goodwill. What about Lithuanian goodwill to win for sakes?
Yeah, excuse me.
Nobody's giving us any goodwill.
Hello.
Can I also say Portugal is just very cool and hip to like. That's the other thing. There is a bias. Like the Festival de Canção is considered to be this like hip, cool child of the Eurovision family.
Hipster country.
Yeah, doing their own thing, not trying to fit into any standards.
That is true. I give him that. I just think it's a bit too high for my liking.
I like how we are the kind of cool child as well. everyone in the community recognizes we keep bringing really good performances, and yet we get nothing in return. Meanwhile, Portugal gets top 10s here and
or
there.
Serbia recently. Serbia has recently had the same as Portuguese sort of cool, hip, just do their own thing.
That's true.
You know, sends a beautiful song, really good vocals, and is like nothing to compare to.
It's beautiful,
Portugal.
but maybe it wasn't edgy enough to stand out. I don't know.
It's about the flower. How much edginess you can bring.
I mean, she brought the rock, so that's as edgy as
There was
Slovenia-
little edgy rocks you could hurt
well,
yourself.
people went for the Ukrainian rock instead. What can I say?
Slovenia brought a witch
that's edgy.
form.
Yeah.
That's pretty edgy with nails on her arm and
good
screeching.
good movement,
yeah,
good
yeah.
voice. Edgy, you cannot say it's
Cultural
not edgy.
story as well about a witch that was put
How
down.
come Portugal with their white clothing?
No, I agree with you guys. I agree with you.
Well.
Slovenia is beyond me.
Okay,
But can we talk about Croatia
Okay,
now,
let's
please?
some positivity, please.
Please, let's talk about Croatia, because when it came down, and I'm actually curious, like, how did you feel when it came down to Croatia's points were announced last, right? Or was it Switzerland?
Yeah, it was
Switzerland. Sorry. So when Switzerland's points were being announced, I was keeping my fingers crossed for Croatia to win. Like, that was my emotion that second. How were you feeling at that point, knowing that some of you probably liked Switzerland more than I did?
So I was rooting for Switzerland. Switzerland is number 2 after Netherlands, since they couldn't participate. They're number 1. Croatia is not the same. However, when I was looking at the faces, I was feeling really bad for Croatia. I really wanted Switzerland to win, but at the same time, he's so cute and he really wants to win. But I would make a comment that everybody on Reddit is like, oh, Croatia tried so hard. He really tried and he deserves to win. I'm like, you cannot, just because Switzerland, didn't have to try as much maybe in those 3 months because they were already amazing singer. You cannot now just say, but they tried so hard. Switzerland maybe tried their whole life to be the singer. So they deserve to win.
It's just very easy to get behind as I said, we heard the Cinderella story, right? The progression is just such a nice story. And also the aspect of Croatia never won before, right? A lot of people just want a new country to win.
Very relatable in that respect.
Yeah, I think pragmatically, I probably should have supported Croatia. Thinking about attending Eurovision next year would be much, much cheaper. And also, getting a new country, kind of winning, I think that would bring back some of the Balkan countries as well.
Yes.
But on the night, I just supported
You were
Switzerland.
rooting for Switzerland.
I think I would have been happy either way. I think all of the countries in the top 3, I would be happy with winning.
Yeah.
But I think in that time, I was counting how many votes Switzerland need to get. So
right. Okay, so that was what's going in your head. What was going in your head, August?
I was reflecting on
Portugal.
No, in my list of top 10, Croatia was higher than Switzerland. I will admit this. So before the final, but when I heard him sing live again in the final, I kind of reflected and decided that probably for a number 1 spot, it has to be something special. I don't know. For me, a champion or a complete winner of a competition like this should be something that is deserving in some sense. And I think Croatia had this anthem, which is super, super catchy. It's super easy to sing along. It's super viral because of the cats and the prancing horses. And it's super fun. But I don't know if it's, with the vocals, and I don't know if it's, maybe it lives in Eurovision history books as a rewatchable video for ages, and that's a rightful place for it. That's how I felt, that it deserves to be remembered, and it's an amazing song. But Nemo probably was a bit too strong to be not deserving of the number 1 space. An elegant stage design, very good singer, cool, interesting song, and also, you know, just the whole package. So I felt more comfortable with him, with the belt, with the crown, rather than Croatia, I think.
Okay. Objectively speaking, I really agree with all of you. Objectively speaking, that
it's just very emotional.
It's just my heart was with Croatia, but objectively speaking,
but your
I
brains
totally
were
agree.
with Switzerland.
Yeah, it was incredible. Like you cannot. His vocals, flawless. Mixing the genres, the creativity, like
the drum and bass, it's Eurovision.
Well deserving victory. It's just my heart.
I did remember one interview from Baby Lasagna where he, I guess a reminder that Baby Lasagna was kind of top in the odds. Then Nemo song got released. Nemo overtook Baby Lasagna, and then Baby Lasagna overtook Nemo again, and it was kind of back and forth. And I think Baby Lasagna, like in the Eurovision week, was asked like, "Oh, so your favorite to win? You know, how do you feel?" And he was very humble in saying, "You know, I was also favorite to win back then. Then Nemo overtook me. I just don't trust the odds. I don't want to kind of talk about it, speculate, because you know." They're a very good performer, and anything can happen, and anything did happen on the night. The bookies were predicting 15% win chance for Switzerland, and just kind of we're not expecting this quite overwhelming kind of victory. I think Baby Lasagna was kind of aware that this is not an easy kind of year for them to win, and I think they'll be happy as well with
They've
second
done
place.
Such a good job. They're gonna be excited.
It's gonna be like Karja, right? Like going down and kind of fans.
Exactly.
Favorites.
He's gonna be performing a lot in like other Eurovisions.
He's gonna be the Cha 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 and Fuego, Spirit in the Sky.
Exactly.
One of those.
It's not always. I think for the community, it's not always just important to win. Like you just get those favorites anyway. And I think he made his country, hometown proud.
Very proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe Croatia did not need that financial strain of hosting Eurovision. Interestingly, Switzerland only came 4th with the televote. I wonder when was 5th even? 5th? Oh, which one am I missing?
Croatia, Israel, Ukraine, and France.
And France got 1 point
and
more.
France, 5th. I wonder when was the last time, if ever, that song not even making top 3 with the televote won the whole thing.
But I mean, without speculating too much, I wonder how the competition and the table would have changed with Joost participating, because that vote would have been more split.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wanted to turn our attention also to the odds just before we wrap up, and how different the end sort of result has been from the odds. So in terms of the odds, the first was Croatia at 52% chance. Massive.
Wow.
Massive. Second was Israel with 16%, which was a change from literally a night before where Israel was
when Italy leaked their voting results accidentally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Switzerland was third with 15%, at least from the screenshot I took just before the event. And then you have France 4th, Ireland 5th, Ukraine 6th, which was a massive change.
Yeah.
Finland 7th.
Yeah.
The bookies had Finland 7.
Yes.
Wow.
And it's gone up actually since sort of probably a couple of days. Italy 8th, Greece 9th, and Austria 10th.
Okay. So Austria and Finland are the biggest.
Completely crazy.
Completely off.
Finland, more crazy than Austria, probably.
Yeah. I mean, what a drop. Like you wouldn't.
Well,
so surprising.
Where did do you see where they had Portugal? Because Portugal ended up in top 10.
Portugal 21st place.
Right. Wow.
And that was an improvement.
Luxembourg 24th place.
Also massively off. Luxembourg ended up 13th.
Yep.
And Germany?
And Germany was 20th. So also a big change.
I think it was just a really tough year for the bookies.
Poor bookies.
No.
Poor bookies.
Not in that sense.
Still making loads of money.
Poor performance.
They made a lot of money off me, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, tough performance here, I would say. Because already in the semifinals we had big surprises. I think Latvia qualified with probably I don't know, the lowest percentage
Yes.
ever.
They were soon to
Second
be
to
the last.
Lithuania.
Yeah.
It's because he cried. It's
Yeah.
because he had the
Yeah.
little tear in his eye.
And then Musti being probably in the top 10 to win did not qualify.
That was
Yeah, that was crazy.
shock qualifier. But you know what?
Musti.
What also is shocking? When we learned that Musti did not qualify, I was fairly confident that he probably came 11th. That's not
But
true.
he wasn't. Yeah, I've checked as well. He
Oh, so
was the last in that semi-final. Was it he
he
last?
wasn't
Was it?
last. So 11th was Czechia.
Okay. Yeah.
Czechia was the border
Wow.
I mean, they
non-qualifier.
improved the performance so much.
Yeah.
Then it was Denmark.
Okay.
Sand.
The sand song.
And then so Norway, who was the last country to qualify in from the second semifinal, got 43 points. Then Czechia 38, Denmark 36, relatively close, and then a huge drop down to 18 points. That's how many points Belgium got.
Wow.
And then Malta was dead last with 13 points.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Sorry. Yeah, that's
Wow.
crazy.
But yeah, 13 points is still okay to compare to Iceland from the first semi, who only got 3 points.
Well deserved.
But that
I will
was
not lie.
not a shock information that you just
Very,
shared.
very,
That's
very
certainly not a shock.
Do we know that if something was wrong with Musti? Because his eyes looked a bit watery, he looked a bit nervous, and his voice didn't sound the best.
No,
in the
not that.
performance.
Yeah, he
But I
sounded
mean-
better in the London pre-party.
Yeah,
in my
exactly.
opinion.
He sounded so
But
good.
I would make a note that he obviously didn't sound as good.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like he completely bashed the whole performance. So, and people would, there were other performances which didn't sound as amazing as maybe hoped. And I don't think it would completely crash. So people, I think, didn't like everything. Well, like the staging probably as well. As
Yeah, the staging was not the
vocals.
I
best.
think the staging was a bit meh, but the song is so good. Like, it's so well produced and was kind of such a fan favorite. You would think that in the semi-final that was a
It would
bit,
carry, still
Yeah,
would carry,
iffy.
100%.
because Greece performed being ill,
Yeah,
and
true.
that
Yeah.
performance
And
was
yeah,
very
she barely
shaky
sang. Yeah.
in the semi-final.
Couldn't
and she
sing
still
to a
got through.
microphone and still got through.
Yeah, so
Exactly. So that's why I'm so surprised that Belgium didn't, because even their vocals were not there. You would expect for such a big favorite to, from the bookies' perspective, I'm pretty sure it was in top 10 most of the time
Yeah.
to go through. That's it probably for today. There's so much to talk about
So
in this
much.
year's
I'm sure
Eurovision.
we could continue for 3 more hours,
Yeah.
but maybe let's give a few more days to
Yeah.
process,
Yeah.
and maybe next time we'll do a summary of 2024 with some.
Yeah, with our
Awards.
awards and what were our personal favorites. Clearly, what were not some of my favorites, but I'm sure I had a lot of songs that I liked and we liked. So we'll cover those. And I'm hopefully maybe at some point we'll have obviously Netherlands sort of investigation over, so we can comment on those things as well.
Yeah.
But Eurovision clearly the party is not over. For sure.
well, we kicked out Musti, so the party is never going to be over.
Yeah. The party is just not ending. Thank you very much for tuning in and see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.